Hello, this is Belinda from Belinda's Book Nook, and welcome to part 2 of March Mystery Madness book options. The first video I did, I focused on 6 African-American mystery writers, and this one is kind of a mixture of different people, but I've been pulling these things off my shelf and realized I have a lot of mysteries, so I thought I'd at least give you some I've mentioned in the past, some I might not have mentioned, but to give people options of books they might want to read if they participate, or just mystery books if they want a mystery book to read. The March Mystery Madness is started by Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I think she did a couple, I don't know how many years, I've done it for the past couple years and really enjoyed it because, like I said, I have a lot of books and a lot that aren't read, so this is another way to help me read my books. So here we go. I'm going to start with one I did read. This one is called Bookmark for Death, and I think I've mentioned this before, but it's by Lorna Barrett. It's a cozy mystery, a bookstore one, a bookstore owner. Her name's Trish Miles, and the name of her bookstore is Haven't Got a Clue. It's a mystery, I think it's a mystery bookstore, and it's set in a place called Stoneham, New Hampshire. Really cute. It's a series, like most cozies. Fun to read and great option, to read. So that is one I did read and I did enjoy. I'm going to pop it down here so I keep them out of the way. This one I just read recently was Scarlet Undercover by Jennifer Latham. What I liked about this mystery was that the girl is 15-year-old Scarlet, who is a Muslim American. You don't typically have that as your lead. And she's a very, very smart girl. She's actually so smart that she's actually graduated early from high school, and she really loves to solve cases, and she's come across a very mysterious case that could threaten her life. It was very good. I enjoyed it. It slowed a little bit in the middle. It started good, slowed in the middle, and then it had a great, from that point after that slow part to the end, it was very, kept me captivated to watch, to listen to, and read, rather. So that's that one. Last year, I think it was, for March Mystery Madness, I read Maisie Dobbs by Jacquelines Spirit. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this series, and I really enjoyed it. It's Maisie Dobbs, I think, is in 1929. Yeah, this is set in 1929, and she was working as a maid for some wealthy aristocrats. And then the war started, and she actually volunteered to be a nurse to help in that. And then she came back, and she lands herself into becoming a kind of a detective. And it's really hard, obviously, being a female in the 1929. Being a female doing anything, but being a detective is not, or sort of solving mysteries is not exactly an easy thing because people don't want to take you seriously. So I read that last year. I've been collecting because I really like the books covers. So I might read this one. I think this is the second or the third in the series. Yes, this is the third in the series. It continues on with her. And this one is called I said the name. Pardonable Lies, a Maisie Dobbs novel. Again, by Jacquelines Spirit. So I do want to read this one. I'm hoping, I don't know if I'll get to this one for March Mystery Madness, but I do want to try to get to it this year because I did enjoy the first one of the series. I found it really interesting. This one I mentioned I read last year as well. It's The Widows of Malabar by Sujata Masay. I gush over her every time I talk about her, so I won't do it here because if you watch past videos, you will know that I have a great attachment to this author and highly respect her writing. This one is set in the 1920s, as it says, a mystery of the 1920s in Bombay. It's really good. She does a lot of research for her books. She based this one on a famous Indian lawyer and the struggle she had to become to get where she was. But this book is not really about that. It is a young woman who is trying to pursue her ability to be in the law and to solve cases, and how much of a struggle it is socially there. And so she pulls on some of the information from this particular woman to kind of make this character in the story. And then I remember it touched on the women that the mystery, there's always somebody that gets killed. I remember it touched on, I can't remember now what it's called, but basically when she had to interview the women, she could interview the women, but if the man wanted to, they had to have a screen between them. They couldn't be in the same room. And so there's a lot of different challenges to getting to the bottom of this case because of that as well. And it was fantastic. Every book of hers I've always loved. And so if I mention her, I want to go back to her old series that I first came across her. This isn't the first in the series, but another one that she wrote is called The Pearl Diver. And this one is one of the... Rei Shimura is the main character of this series. I love these series. The reason why I love them is because they give you a bit of Japanese culture and history within the mystery. What I also love about them is they always have... let me see if it does it on this one. No, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, cast of characters. So she always tells you, and a lot of the same people will repeat in... she has a core group that repeat into each of the series. But what's wonderful, like this one, I can't remember the whole of this one, but it teaches you a lot about an aspect. I can't remember what this one is. Isn't that horrible? I have a bunch of her books, and I picked the one that I can't remember, and it doesn't have a good description here to tell me exactly what it's about. But they're really fantastic books if you get a chance. She started out, Rei Shimura, she was doing like antique collections and sales. And so you learned a lot about that and about Japanese antiques. And then there's one that she does with flower arranging. You learn a lot about that in that particular mystery. So if you're interested in the Japanese culture, this is kind of a cool way to explore little aspects of it. And she is, I believe, a Japanese American, but living in Japan in most of the books. I think it's a later book she comes to the United States. So excellent, excellent, excellent mystery book. This book I read last year, I think The Beekeepers Apprentice by Laura R. King. Loved it. Loved it. It's 1915. Sherlock Holmes is retired. He meets this 15-year-old gawky girl who is like his definite protege. She just has the ability to read scenes and pick out things and know details that match him and sometimes even surpass him. And she ends up working with him. And I guess I don't know if the whole series goes that way. I think so. I've been talking with a person in Barnes & Noble about it who loves the series. And she says they get better and better. So that was the first one. I have another one. I don't get them in order because I just get them at used bookstores. So whenever I find one, I just take it. So the next one I have, I don't think is in order. I think this is later. This one is Dreaming Spies, but they have fantastic covers. And this one is by Laura R. King as well. And yeah, I won't tell anymore. This one doesn't really do a good description of it. But this is another one that is written by her as well. And the last book I have, I want to say I bought it maybe 2 years ago. Maybe more than that. Let's see when it was published. I think maybe. The first publication came out in 2014. So there's a good chance I got this either in 2014 or 2016. Which still case is a while back. This one I have not read yet. This is Keith Yatsuhashi. And it's a Japanese mystery novel. And this one is here. Every civilization has its myths. Only one is true. When 18-year-old Keiko Yamada's father dies unexpectedly, he leaves only a one-way ticket to Japan and an unintelligible death poem about powerful Japanese spirits and their gigantic beast-like guardians. And the cryptic words, "Go to Japan in my place. Find the gate. My camera will show you the way." Alone and afraid, Keiko travels to Tokyo, determined to fulfill her father's dying wish. There, beneath the glittering neon signs, her father's death poem comes to life. Ancient spirits spring from the shadows and chaos and envelopes the city. As Keiko flees its burning streets, her guide, the beautiful Yui Akiko, makes a stunning confession that she, Yui, is one of the handful of spirits left behind to defend the world against the most powerful among them, a once noble spirit, now insane. I don't know. It just sounded great. So if you're on that same theme of doing a Japanese mystery, this one sounded good. And I don't know if he's written any other things, but it would be interesting to see. I think this is the only one that I had at that time. It would be interesting to see if there's any more now since then. So there could be some backlist also to read. So that one is Kojiki, and it's by Keith Yatsuhashi. And that's it. Those are my books that I'm giving you as options, and you can leave some options down for me if you know of any other ones, because I always love recommendations. I hope you guys are happy reading month, and I brought these videos this month just because I like to get organized and prepared before I do a challenge. So I figured in February I prepare for March, in January I prepare for February. That way I'm not scrambling, because as slow as I am, I don't have time to be waiting to find a book. Have a wonderful day. I'm babbling. I will see you all soon.